Hello, I'm Jeff Bernstein. I'm with the East County SBDC, working out of the East County Small Business Development Center. And I'm here to present a workshop on creating business plans. I'm going to begin by sharing my PowerPoint with you. We're going to talk today about business plans made simple, the approach to business planning, why, when we do it, contents and tools, and pitfalls. Excuse me. And the objectives today to develop the basis for a business plan, understand how to move from feasibility analysis to constructing a viable and fundable business plan. We want to make sure this is real, it's relevant, and it makes sense. We want to identify the must-have sections and to focus them based on different type of stakeholder needs. So if eventually you're going to use your business plan to apply for a business loan, for instance, you have a different stakeholder or person that's interested in your business or investing in your business. You have to adjust your business to appeal to that particular person. So there's just a few thoughts. These are a few quotes that may help you understand better why you would do a business plan. First quote is from Benjamin Franklin, good old Ben from the 1700s, one of the founders of our country. And he said, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. In other words, without a plan at all, it's chaos. With a plan, you have some structure and organization. And one of the good things about being your own business owner or running a business is that nobody can tell you what to do. So whatever you do, good, bad, or otherwise, consequences are yours. The bad thing about it is you own your business, you can do whatever you want. Same thing. There's no structure, no organization, nothing to hold you accountable. And putting it in a written business plan provides you with that opportunity to be accountable to something, which is the business plan itself. Dwight Eisenhower, a major general during World War II and also became president of the United States, said, in preparing for battle, I've always found that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. And what he meant by that is that we can't read the future. We have no crystal ball. So when we're talking about plans, we're looking at the future and we're saying, here's what we believe is going to happen. We don't know for sure. We don't know what's going to happen in terms of conditions, environment. We don't know what's going to happen with the economy. We don't know what's going to happen with our own customers. But we still have to be in a position where we're going to kind of, based on assumptions, have to predict that. And without a plan, we're lost. Dwight Eisenhower said he never, he really basically what he's saying is, I went in the battle, I never knew what was going to happen for sure. I had no guarantees, but without the plan, we had no organization to go into battle at all. Once we went into battle, we would adjust our plan accordingly based on what we found out. We might be surprised by certain things. So what we need to understand is that business plans are dynamic. They're ever changing. And we're going to have to adjust those business plans as we learn more and experience more down the road. But it provides us with the foundation we need to be able to move forward. And then James Sly, who's my boss, said, take the plan from your head and put it down on paper. A little facetious, but the point is that without a written plan, it's all in our head and we're all going to only react. There's a reason that 92% of all businesses fail within the first 5 years. And that is because there's two reasons. And that one is they're undercapitalized. They don't have enough money to keep going, especially during those critical first few months of business when you're just starting to build the business and you have all these expenses. The other part of it is not having a business plan. And by the way, part of the business plan is financial projections, which if you had done your financial projections, you wouldn't run short of cash. So the plan is critical. So why write a business plan? Well, number one, for decision making. It's an evaluation tool for making strategic choices. Communication. It's necessary. It is necessary. You can't even apply for a business loan if you don't have a business plan. But it's also important to investors, potential partners, sometimes even vendors or suppliers, and sometimes even our own employees if we have employees, because part of that is building a culture, our mission statement, whatever our objectives and our goals are. In many cases, we want to be able to communicate that to our employers so they can understand what's behind the business and what's driving us to be successful. Analysis, thinking and finding critical areas before investing cash and time. And I can speak to that personally because I can tell you my 45 years of business. I was in the retail, wholesale floor covering business. I ran multiple stores, ran businesses as large as $25 million. I never had a business plan until I went to work for my first employer, because I had my own business for about 27 years, never wrote a business plan. Went to work for my first employer. He said part of the conditions of employment were that I would put together a business plan as well as financial projections for the business. And I did that. And as I did it, I realized how much I left off the table, how valuable it would have been to me during my career to be able to look at my business plan, look at my financial projections, and make critical choices because of real facts instead of gut reaction. I made many, many mistakes because I just didn't feel right about the direction I was going. So I didn't take advantage of opportunities that came my way. And then on the other hand, I made some really bad decisions in terms of how I spent my money. And had I had some way to analyze those opportunities, I may have not made bad decisions along the way. It would have been extremely helpful. And it also works as a guide to action, how to do things when and with what. Because as we do, especially financial projections, that is exactly what we're doing. We're deciding when we're going to do certain things, at least projecting that, and then we reflect that in the numbers along the way. If we're going to, for instance, buy a major piece of equipment down the road, when we're going to do that? Well, I project that's going to be in the 6th month. Okay, what effect does that have on my expenses, and what effect does it have on my revenue? Those are all things that need to be reflected in the business plan and financial projections. And then taking insurmountable tasks into smaller, more manageable ones. We want to break it down. It's much easier to reach goals when you can break them down into smaller and smaller goals along the way. The whole idea of this is to reduce the risk. As I said, 92% of businesses fail within the first 5 years. Maybe we're not going to be able to reduce or reverse 92% in the 92% success. But if we can take 92% of failure and make it 50% of success, we've done some major work. There's always going to be risk in going into business, always. We just want to minimize the amount of risk. And by doing a business plan, that's what we're doing. So when do we want to do it? We want to do it before we get started, when we need money, stuff, and people, as a regular part of running your business, because once again, we want to use this as a management tool. And remember, it's an ongoing process, not a time event. We are going to change this business plan. We're going to revisit it and adjust it along the way to adjust to conditions and changes. And the caveat to this is all of this depends on what you're doing, your goals, and what your needs are. In other words, every business plan is specific to the business itself, that particular business. Everyone is going to be as different as your business is compared to any other business. So what's in the plan? Your concept, industry description, market analysis, economics of the business, marketing strategy, operations, management team, risks and assumptions, timeline, financial projections, and offering. I am going to share an outline with you of a traditional business plan The particular outline has been vetted by both SBDC and the SBA. So it's a good standard outline. Great for if you can complete the business plan, great for presenting to a bank if you're applying for a loan, or to a partner, or to anybody else. This is what is expected, or something just like it is expected when you present a business plan to a stakeholder. And I'm going to talk about each of these sections briefly and go over them just so that you have a good understanding of what each section does. We'll start with the executive summary. This is about 1 to 2 paragraph description of your business, what you do, how you do it, and why it's viable. It's kind of, I compare it a little bit to a 90-second elevator pitch. What would you say about your business in 90 seconds that would interest somebody in your business? We're going to talk a little, when you do some work on lean canvas or lean business model canvas, or in value proposition, we talk about value proposition. Your value proposition is really the essence of this executive summary. Now, a lot of my fellow advisors like to do executive summary last, even though it's first in order, because if you do go through all the other sections of the traditional business plan, it kind of leaves you to kind of a conclusion or a summary of what it is that you're going to be doing. But I like to do it first and then revisit it when I'm all done with the rest of the business plan, go back and make the adjustments that I need to make based on what we were able to find out. So the second section is general company description. Who are you? What do you do? Mission statement. What is it that you want to achieve beyond selling your products or services? What do you want to accomplish? What's driving you going forward? Your company goals and objectives? Your business philosophy? What's important to you in business? What is driving you? I mean, ultimately, a stakeholder is going to want to know is, where's your passion for this business? What is it that you do so well, and why you want to achieve what you achieve, besides selling whatever you sell? Your product or service, of course. And then value proposition is basically what makes you different than your competition. What differentiates you from them? And then technology platform, if any, are you using any technology along the way to facilitate your business or your sales? Location. The current location of your business. Now, obviously, some of you may be online and not have a brick and mortar operation. Some of you may be just have a website. Some of you may be doing outside business, outside calling and prospecting. Whatever it is, where's your current location? Where are you doing business from? Why did you select that particular location? And then the advantage and the disadvantage of your current location. So we know why we talk about advantages, because we're kind of, if we're appealing to any stakeholders at all, we're trying to make our business look good, right? So we're going to talk about all the advantages all night long. But why would we talk about disadvantages? And there's one major reason that we have to talk about disadvantages, is we have to make sure that we understand the risk factors and the obstacles we're going to face in business. And we have to make the reader understand that we recognize that everything is not panacea. Everything is not going to just go every way. And we have conflicts and obstacles that we're going to have to overcome. We need to identify those obstacles and talk about how we're going to overcome them. When we talk about the disadvantage of a current location, if I had a brick and mortar operation, right, I would want First and Main as my location. But guess what? I may not be able to afford First and Main. So I may have to go to another street, a secondary street, which still could provide me with enough traffic and enough business, but not be as expensive. And that would be appealing to somebody that's thinking about lending you money, becoming a partner, investing in your business in one way or the other. That might be important to them. So we want to be able to talk about that. Industry and market analysis. Basically, we have to know about the market we're in, our competition in the marketplace. We have to do that research. And then we also have to know what's happening in our industry nationwide. What is happening in the industry? What are the trends? Do we know the trends? And are we adjusting our business plan accordingly based on taking advantage of those trends or overcoming negative trends in the business? We want to be able to know that. In terms of our competition in the local market, we want to know who they are, what they do well, what they don't do so well. And we want to be able to communicate that to the reader. They need to know that we know what's going on in our marketplace. We know who we're competing with. We know what we do better than they do, and what things we will do that they're already doing well that we may want to replicate in our own business. Marketing strategy. Productive service strategy. We want to be able to just talk about how we do what we do. Pricing strategy is critical. Why we decided to sell the products and services at the prices we do. Advertising and promotion, of course, we want to be able to talk about what is our strategy, and we're using social media, we're using email marketing, are we using traditional advertising? That would be newspaper, radio, print, or are we using a combination thereof? But what is the strategy? And what's our distribution network? How will your product or service reach your customers? Production and operations and manufacturing, that's just about what we do from beginning to end. Just kind of a bullet point summary of I start here, I end here. Management, of course, anybody would want to know who's managing the company. Who's the captain of the ship? Are they qualified to do that? So what are the qualifications? We want to know about full-time personnel. We want to know about part-time personnel. We also want to talk about if we do use outside contractors, 1099 contractors, who are they, and how many are there? Long-term development and exit plans. We want to talk about our long-term strategy. We should be looking at not where our business is today at this point only. We should be talking about what is our vision for our business 5 years from now. All of our plans should reflect trying to reach that 5-year vision step by step by step, especially when we talk about financials. How do we reach that vision? By adding staff, adding warehousing, adding equipment, adding, you name it. What do we need to do to reach that vision? Now, why do we talk about exit strategy? There's one good reason. If you make your business a saleable business to somebody else, you're doing the right things. I can only tell you that I didn't. I had a business for 27 years, great business, excellent reputation. I was doing about $7 million a year in business. Decided to leave it to go out to manage and operate a much larger operation. So I wanted to sell it, and I couldn't sell my business. Had no exit strategy. I didn't delegate enough authority. I was a figurehead on everything. Was a reason I couldn't take many vacations, couldn't get out of the business. And all I can tell you, I wasn't setting my business to be sold. And all along, as you go forward and build your business, you should be doing exactly that. Make it into a saleable business. Even if you don't sell it, you're doing the right things along the way. You're training your people, you're empowering your people, you're delegating authority so that you're not the only person doing what they're doing. and it could potentially be a turnkey operation where someone purchased your business and they could walk right in. Then if we're going to borrow money, financial data. So we want to have basically show in numbers and reflect what we're saying in the verbiage in the business plan in actual financial projections. I'm going to stop share here and just show you what a projected P&L would look like. Excuse me. This is a template that we use here in SBDC. It's an excellent template for doing what we need to do. And we start with a revenue builder, which basically projects the amount of business we're going to do per year here over 12 months. Makes it very, very simple to do. I'm not going to go into explanation on how to really use the template, but I can tell you this is something that we would want to do. We list the different products and services here. We talk about our average cost for those products, our selling cost, our selling price, our growth rate for each of them. We predict a growth rate month to month to month. And then we predict how many we're going to sell in this area here in the transactions area. The COGS builder is a cost of goods sold area. We predict the service costs that are involved, and we predict the material costs that are involved in the second section. And based on our sales projections, it then projects what our costs are for each of the products that are sold. It's a very good template. Eventually, we get to the projected P&L, and that would be our sales minus our cost of goods sold, this section here. Those are all populated by the first two tabs. And then below that is operating expenses. Those are our fixed expenses. Those are the expenses that we're going to pay no matter whether we sell 1 unit of whatever we're selling or we're going to sell 1 million units of what we're selling. We still have to pay the lights. We still have to pay the rent. We still have to pay the insurance. We still have to pay all that. Those are our fixed expenses. Our cost of goods sold, which we had worked with in the previous tab, those are variable expenses. It's kind of if I was going to sell a cupcake, the cost of goods sold would be sugar, flour, butter, whatever ingredients went into it. And if I sold more units, I would sell more. I would have greater costs for each of those products. Or if I produce more, I would have greater costs for each of those products. That's cost of goods sold. It's reflects the volume of sales or production that you have. Anyway, this is only one of the financial projections. We do a cash flow projection also. That means how much cash comes in and goes out of our business so that we know we're never going to run out, that there's enough cash there. And if we do run out, we're going to have some way of pulling more cash into the system. And then we also do a break-even analysis. So break-even analysis means when am I finally going to pay all the expenses in a year that will allow me to start producing profit, putting money in my pocket. So I have to know and project when that happens. And we know until that time, we're running at a loss. When we get to that point, break even, we know that we've paid the bills, we haven't made any profit, and then we go from there to every dollar, every gross profit dollar that we sell is bottom line, comes down to the bottom line after we break even, which is why it's very, very important to know when that happens. And then the last thing that we do with financial projections as part of your business plan is a balance sheet. A balance sheet is basically a snapshot of your owner's equity, your ownership in the company. It would be assets minus liabilities equals your ownership or your share of the business. These are all things that we can work on with you, and you should work on with your advisor. because it's invaluable. It's an invaluable tool to run your business, to have these financial projections. And by the way, your projected P&L, this finished product here, becomes your budget as you move forward. It's perfect to be able to have that budget set up so you can compare your actual performance against a budget area, and you don't overspend that way because you're keeping track of where you stand against your budget. Many expenses you're going to have to pre-spend. In other words, you're going to have to be able to say and pay for it up front. You want to make sure that you produce enough revenue to pay for those expenses. We need to budget so we can track ourselves against the revenue we produce and the actual performance we have. I'm going to stop share here and go back to our PowerPoint. So today we're going to just talk about priorities, concept, market, economics, risk, and assumptions. These are the must-have sections of the plan. Concept is your basic idea. What do you do and why? And remember, in order for us to really have a successful business, we have to be able to solve a problem that we identify in the marketplace, right? So opportunity, our ability to make money, is equal to the problem and the solution we provide for that problem. The concept must be clear, compelling, and detail a plan of action. If you look here, Tostitos was exactly that. They identified a problem, which is messy salsa from taco chips, and then they developed these scoops as their solution to the problem. Hopefully that caught on. I don't know if it did or it didn't, if those scoops are still there today, but that was their idea of a concept in a business. We want to articulate the concept in the form of a value proposition. It's a concise statement that summarizes why a consumer should buy a product or use a service. This statement should convince a potential consumer that one particular product or service will add more value or better solve a problem than other similar offerings. In other words, what differentiates you from the competition. Uber was a good example, and I use this in all my workshops because sometimes we don't really understand the value proposition. Uber's value proposition, many people will say, well, they're an alternative to a cab or a taxi in the transportation industry. And the fact is they are not. They may be an alternative, but that's not really the value proposition. Really, the value proposition of Uber is they are an app. All they do is unite drivers with passengers. That's what they do. They're matchmakers in a way. They don't own a single car. They haven't done they have no inventory of cars. They haven't ever driven one, technically, and they haven't been a passenger. They're just connected, and they're making money off that. That is their value proposition. So when we look at our own businesses, we really have to look at the essence of our business and say, what is our true value proposition? The market. Who are they? How are they different? What characterizes them? What's the difference? Demographically, geographically, lifestyle. How are we different than our competition? How many are there in our marketplace? How many will there be? How many have the incentive and the ability to give you their money? And we're talking about our clients here or our customers here. It's really important to understand that we may want to do certain altruistic things in our community. We may want to give back to the community, but you have to make money first to be able to do that. And we have to be able to deal with customers that can pay us. So the question is, where are they? And who has ability to pay for our products and services? How do you know? You want to conduct primary market research, talk to your customers and put it in a plan. Friends and family are great. Sometimes surveys, focus groups and interviews, trade shows and product demonstrations, and be viral. Get your stuff out there really, really quick. Plant seeds even if you're not in business. Review secondary market research about your industry. Know your industry inside and out. Economics. What kind of resources do you need? Where are the main costs? Are they fixed or variable? Remember, I talked overhead costs versus cost of goods sold. Overhead costs are fixed. Cost of goods sold are variable. What's the price of the product? And this is a major issue with a lot of my clients. We have to determine the best price, the highest possible price we can get for our products and services based on the value we add to our business, to the customer. How much profit do you make per item sold? Again, financial projections. How many customers you need to break even analysis that we talked about. To achieve the profit you want, you could take a break-even analysis, use the same formula to predict when I'm going to make a certain amount of money. Which of your products or services offers can you make money on? Which can you not? Sometimes we have to sell products and services because it's part of the mix as a cost leader and low-end leader, low-price leader, whatever you want to call it, because the only way we're going to sell everything else is by offering those products too. Risk and assumptions. This demonstrates to the reader that you fully understand what you're getting into. You identify what your risks are and you have a way to overcome them. Gives you an opportunity to explain contingencies based on your strengths and opportunities. Answers key questions before they can be asked, because we want the reader to, our job is to educate the reader so that they don't have to ask questions later on or have questions unanswered. We want to be able to talk about our pricing assumptions, our cost assumptions, our volume and sales assumptions. And we want to use this opportunity to show off our deep knowledge of the opportunity. So what do people want in your business plan? Friends and family just want you to be successful, right? Lenders want to make sure that you pay them back, that you have the ability to do that. And they're doing things to reduce your risk, to make sure that you have the money to pay them back. Private investors want the ability to grow. If you watch Shark Tank, you're going to see that all the time. They want a potential return on the business. They also want you to show that you're a viable business and you actually can be a profitable business. Biggest pitfalls in business plans: clarity. You're using tech words that people won't understand, or we used to talk about newspapers being dummied down to a fourth grade level. We kind of need to do that with people that may not understand our industry. Science and engineers really have a problem dumbing down the terminology so that it's understandable by a reader. You do not want to confuse a reader while they're doing it or make them feel stupid while they read your business plan. So be at a level where somebody that doesn't really know about your business can actually understand it. Realism, financials, market, sizing, suppliers, way too optimistic. It's very obvious that many times when somebody is trying to oversell their business. Not using what's closest at hand, provide scenarios to be more conservative, bootstrap. Flexibility versus rigidity. Predicting the unpredictable and updating is needed. And then continuity and consistency. We want to make sure that the numbers that we present in our financial projections reflect our verbiage, and vice versa. They've got to connect. One has to support the other. And that's it. I hope you got what you needed to get out of the business plan workshop today. And by all means, rely on your SBDC advisor to help you through the development of your business plan along the way. Thank you for coming to this workshop today, and good luck in your businesses. Thank you.